Yes, I'd love a car wash today.
Whew. Oh man, you see that shit? Look at this little thing hanging here. Fixed. My damn turn signal fell off again. Man, screw these turn signals.
It's a lovely day for a ride. It's about 70 degrees out, day after Christmas. Can't really beat that. It's snowing back east where most of my family is, back in Michigan, and whew, I don't know if I could take it. There's Cook's Corner, looking mighty busy. And I hope everybody had a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope that you enjoyed it and you had a great time. You know, it's 35 through the canyon, and we are doing 27. I'm not in any rush, but 40 would be nice. Well, like I said, it's a beautiful day. I just want to get outside and look at these trees. You can't beat it. Poor skunk in the road. So, I'm not one for motovlogging. I don't have the setup for it. You should see what I have kludged onto my helmet right now just to capture this. It's pretty bad. I got a battery pack Velcro to the side of my helmet. I've got a GoPro Hero 3 Black that's barely hanging in there attached to it. And then a lav mic attached to that too. So there's like wires everywhere. It looks like a hot mess. And I think the universe was trying to tell me not to do a motovlog today because my GoPro mount literally self-destructed as I attached it to my helmet.
Last night I was just like, man, I want to go for a ride, and you know what I should do? I should vlog it, because that's totally what I should do. And if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that I don't vlog. I barely get in front of the camera. But yeah, myself yesterday said, all right, we're gonna go motovlog, we're gonna take the KTM, do a couple laps, see how she's doing. If you look down, you can see nice 2 bars under the top end of the heat range there, which is very nice. Previously it was just always pegged at the top and the fan was just always on. And granted, it's a lot cooler. The only issue I've had with the bike since doing the top end has been back when it was like 107 degrees outside. It was hot. It was ridiculously hot. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's take the KTM out. This will be fun. Well, I was going around the PCH, and there was just so many people out there because, you know, it was hot and then everybody wanted to go to the beach. But the traffic was insane. So the bike was just starting to overheat in the traffic. And that's the only time since the top end that it's gotten like above the recommended coolant temp. And something else that was interesting that happened then is I got an engine fault code. And it was something like crankshaft position sensor, something like that. And I cleared it, and it never came back. And but it freaked me out. And me being the impatient person that I am, generally wasn't letting the bike warm up enough. Like, you would get a few bars in it, and like, alright, it's time to ride. And unfortunately, when it's a little cool, it wants to stall when it rolls up into a stop.
And so I just assumed that the two were related, and I didn't ride the bike for a while. I got freaked out. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to tear the engine apart again. Then I went through a whole bunch of forums, and a couple of people were like, yeah, crank it up, let it idle for a good 10 minutes, and then ride it. Alright, so try that. Sure enough, handles all my issues. Just don't turn in front of me. Yeah, and it's been riding like a dream ever since. I really don't want to come around one of these corners with a car hanging out in the middle of the road. That's happened to me before. There's also a noise ordinance zone right after this, so you don't want to come blazing out of here. Let's see if there's any cops up here. Doesn't look like it. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, which I couldn't really fit into other videos, was that the channel just recently passed 1,000 subscribers. I'm super stoked about that. I mean, I was unbelievably hyped when we had 100 subscribers. I was like, who wants to watch me work on bikes and ride bikes? I didn't think there was a little market for it, but apparently there is. I've got some really awesome viewers that raise a whole bunch of really awesome questions and never fail to remind me that I'm engine braking on my two-strokes. It was a huge milestone. Just recently passed it, and we keep going. And I know I've been a little light on the content. There's been a few things that have happened in my life outside of COVID that have kind of hampered some of my abilities to make videos. And a little while back, there were these fires in Santiago Canyon, and I had to evacuate for both of them. It was the first time I've ever had to evacuate, so it was kind of tripping me out. So I grabbed basically everything, even a couple bikes, threw them in the back of the truck, and luckily my mom lives nearby. So I had to evacuate for those. And that kind of messed everything up. I like destroyed the whole house when I had to grab everything, so doing that twice was pretty disruptive. But after that, work got pretty busy. I had to do a bunch of overtime, and another ongoing problem these days has been getting parts for bikes. I don't know what it is, if it's just a lot of it's coming from China or just overseas in general. But nobody has parts in stock, and getting parts takes months. The 50 that I'm building for my daughter, I needed to get the axles and the spacers and everything, and that took about 3 months. And one of the parts was back ordered, so I knew that it was going to be a bit of a wait, but I didn't think it was going to be that long. Head into Irvine maybe and see. I heard that Mission Motorsports closed, but I'd be kind of bummed if they did. They were the biggest motorsports store near me. I think the next closest thing is Cycle Gear, and then I got like Cycle City Motorsports, I think. I need to try on a couple of helmets and a couple of gloves. Mine are reaching the end of their life. I've had these gloves since I was 19, I think. They're pretty old, and they've lost a lot of their suppleness, so they're kind of rigid. Not super comfortable to wear. There are a lot of people out today. Took a little ride by the lake here. How's it looking today? Looking beautiful. It's just nice to be on a bike again. It's been a while. I think the last time I actually rode for any decent amount of time was the 12-hour that I did. And I know I didn't do a video about it because when I was out there, it was unbelievably hot. It was out at Willow Springs, and I think it was about 114 degrees. I've never ridden in that kind of heat ever, and especially on a KX65, you know, two-stroke wringing its neck out. It was uncomfortable. It was an uncomfortable experience in a lot of ways. And that mostly came from just feeling like you're in an oven. And because of the heat, my GoPros actually stopped charging. There wasn't anywhere I could put them other than like the cooler to keep them cool enough that they charge. So I only have like a couple laps of footage, which maybe I'll do something with at some point, but right now it's just sitting there. So it was so hot, my GoPros weren't charging, and after a little bit of fighting with that, I just decided it wasn't worth it. And we were just gonna ride, and I'd do like a little commentary about it afterwards. Well, things went a little bit more south after that when we had a rider fall and break his hip. So we had two of our team members down, one taking him to the hospital and one with a broken hip. The next thing came when I was out doing a stint. We were trying to do hour-long stints. Hour-long stints because that's about how long the tank lasted, and so, I mean, that was as much as we could really do without being completely ragged after we got off the bike. So the first few stints worked really well. We went out an hour apiece, no big deal. I think it was my third stint out there, and this was like started to get into the heat of the day. Well, after about 20 minutes, I started getting dizzy and started making a lot of mistakes. And so I decided, all right, well, I'm going to come in. I'm going to try and make it to 30. I'm going to come in. I come in at 30, and I hand the bike off to the guys who are going to throw some gas in it and jump on. And I pretty much just got, like, I got so dizzy that I just had to lay on the ground. So I'm sitting there laying on the ground panting. And I'm just like, great, I don't want to get heat stroke out here. It was a miserable experience. And so I'm pouring water all over myself, just dousing my hair, putting ice down my suit. Oh, let's go this way. So I'm shoving ice in my suit. I'm just trying to cool down. And after that, we started doing 30-minute stints just because it was so bad, so hot. When I had finally cooled off enough to even think about getting back on the bike, I jumped on the bike and packed about a pound's worth of ice into my leathers, doused my hair, and went out. Within about 15 to 20 minutes, I was completely dry. That's how hot it was, and it was just awful. As soon as that stuff melted, and there was no cooling effects, it was unbearable. So that's pretty much how long my stints lasted, is however long the ice in my suit lasted for. And we were actually doing fairly well. There were a few mechanical problems on the other teams, and I think we were in second for a while, or third. Then came the final nail in the coffin for us, which was we got a puncture in our tube, which I had extra tubes, but nobody was really that skilled at changing tubes out on a tire. Me included. I'm awful at it. I take my tires in to get mounted every time. And we ended up pinching the tube on the first attempt, and I had a front and a rear tube, and the front tube was a little bit smaller, like significantly smaller. And we ended up putting it in the rear, and it held for about 3 stints maybe. And then it exploded on one of our riders, and he went down, and luckily he was okay, but that was the end for us. I marched up and down the pit trying to get a patch kit, trying to find anything that I could use, or tubes, but everybody was running tubeless, so nobody brought a patch kit or spare tubes. So I think we ended up making it something like 10 and a half or 11 hours out of the 12 hours. it's still a ton of fun, but the KX65 is in rough shape. It needs a tube. It needs a carb rebuild. At some point, after going down a couple times, the carb was just spewing gas, and so the whole engine's covered in rubber and gas, and it's gross. So it needs to be cleaned up, and I've got some plans for it. I really want to make it a nice track bike. I want to get the frame powder coated, take care of any rusty areas, do a bunch of that, but it's my primary bike that I ride at the track, so it's hard for me to justify taking it down for so long. I've actually been looking at other, 65s just so I can have one to ride while one's getting fixed. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the 12-hour. So yeah, I got plans for the 65. I think that's potentially the next project bike. And I might do it in stages, that way I don't absolutely take it down for months. I'd also like to do a little bit of a time attack at Adams. I want to get a nice timing system and be able to track my laps so I can see what I'm doing and how it's affecting my times. You've got a general sense, and I've actually been doing some really janky calculations where I just kind of run the GoPro the entire time and find a frame that's exactly this, find a location that's very similar each time, and use that as a point of reference and grab the time from that with a timestamp. That's a lot of work for getting a lap time, and I can't get it until I'm doing editing. So I'd really like to go get a nice lap timer and set that up. The GPS lap timers are really expensive though. I think the the AIM 2 is something like $400, $500, somewhere around there. So it's a significant investment, but I think it would actually help me a lot. Some wave in that road. Alright, I think this is Irvine, right? It's been a while since I've been over here. Irvine Center Drive. Yeah, let's go down here. I think we go past like a Whole Foods maybe, and as much as I trust people to stay in their lane through an intersection, I don't. I think it was right here on the corner. Yeah, let's see if it's still open. Kinda looked a little abandoned. Ooh, yeah, this looks mighty abandoned. Business now closed. Damn, that's a bummer. I mean, while I'm down here, I could go to Cycle Gear to check out some my hip. My hip. Oh my god, my hip. Oh, alright. I think if I go down here, if Cycle Gear's still open. Hip is locking up. Ah, my hip does not feel good. Feeling old. Alright, Cycle Gear should be in here, I think. There it is. There's a lot of people. That's a nope. I don't understand why there's hotels here. There's like nothing over here, but there's a shit ton of hotels. Dude, people trying to cross the street. This is like 6 lanes. Do not recommend. I don't plan on making a ton of vlog content, but if you do enjoy it, let me know down below. Or, you know, smash the dislike button. That'll tell me you don't like it too. I have to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting me in this channel, subscribing, commenting, liking, all of that stuff that I absolutely hate saying that every YouTuber is begging for. It really helps. It makes me feel like it's worth doing it. You know, making these videos is fun, but it is time consuming. And then seeing a little community pop up is really cool. So like I said, thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. Looking forward to what the next year brings, especially getting away from 2020. Not like 2021 is going to be much different from the get-go, but looking forward to bringing more content for sure.